Gormflaith Ingen Murchada was born in Naas, County Kildare, Ireland, around 960. She was the daughter of Murchad mac Fin, King of Leinster, sister of his successor, Mael Mórdha mac Murchada. According to the annalistic accounts, she was married to Olaf Cuaran, the Viking king of Dublin and York until his death in 981, and mother to his son, King Sigtrygg Silkbeard.Additionally, and perhaps most famously, after her son, Sigtrygg's defeat at the Battle of Glen Mama in 999, Gormlaith was married to Brian Boru, the King of Munster and High King of Ireland, and mother to his son and later King of Munster, Donnchad. It is also alleged that she married Mael Mórdha mac Domhnall after Olaf's death, but this is somewhat contentious as the sources for this marriage are less reliable. The Irish annals record Gormlaith's death in 1030. Gormlaith is most infamous for allegedly inciting men to such a degree that she caused the Battle of Clontarf in 1014. Given that her goading episode exists only in literary sources not contemporary with her lifetime, and, indeed, written long after her death, it is highly unlikely that such an event ever occurred, since the majority of depictions of Gormlaith were composed well after her life. Very little is known about the actual historical figure. Annalistic and genealogical accounts. The first annalistic account regarding Gormlaith appears in the Annals of Innisfallen. This is a major extant record of Munster history, and as such maintains a preference for Munster kingship and ancestry. The entry of her death was composed some 62 years after her death, making it the most contemporary and temporally proximate. This account stated, "The daughter of Murchad, son of Fin, Queen of Munster, dies." Gormlaith's father was Murchad, son of Fin, and this statement, paired with Queen of Munster, leaves little doubt amongst scholars that this reference is to Gormlaith. The Annals of Tigernach are the next chronologically contemporaneous account with a reference to Gormlaith. These annals, compiled in the Irish Midlands, stated, "Gormlaith, daughter of Murchad, son of Fin, mother of Sigtrygg, son of Mael Cuaran, king of the foreigners, and of Donnchad, son of Brian, king of Munster, died." Gormlaith also appears in genealogical accounts written more than 100 years after her death. The first of these accounts is found in the Banchentures, which is essentially a catalogue of famous medieval Irish women. The entry in this account echoed the annalistic accounts and names Olaf Cuaran and Brian Boru as her husbands and Sigtrygg and Donnchad as her sons. Gormlaith also appears in the 12th century genealogies found in the Book of Leinster dating from 1150 to 1201. For this entry derives the famous Three Leaps of Gormlaith poem, which states she made a leap in Dublin, a leap in Tara, and a leap in Cashel. Some scholars have used these three leaps as evidence of her three marriages to Olaf Cuaran, Brian Boru and Mael Mórdha, contradicting the annalistic accounts which refer to only two marriages. In particular, the validity of this third marriage to Mael Mórdha and her alleged divorce from Brian Boru have been of serious contention amongst scholars. The Three Leaps poem contained in 12th century genealogies is the only medieval Irish account to potentially suggest a third marriage. However, some scholars have argued that the reference here to three leaps is referring instead to children and not, in fact, to marriages. Medieval literary accounts. Gormlaith has been depicted in many contexts since her death, and she is arguably best known for her portrayal in the Cogaged Hill Regala. Of this literary work of propaganda was composed between 1103 and 1111 by a descendant of Brian Boru, Murchad.According. This text detailed the ascent to power of his illustrious ancestor in an effort to highlight the prestige of his dynasty. Gormlaith makes her appearance in a singular scene in which she has garnered much notoriety in subsequent sources, is her inciting scene. To provide context, prior to this her brother, Mael Mórdha, has ceded vassalage to Brian Boru. Now when they arrived at Sencorda, the king took off his tunic, and it was carried to his sister to put a silver button on it, viz. to Gormlaith, daughter of Murchad, Brian's wife, and she was the mother of Donnchad, son of Brian. The queen took the tunic and cast it into the fire, and she began to reproach and incite her brother because she thought it ill that he should yield service and vassalage and suffer oppression from anyone, a yield that which his father or grandfather never yielded, and she said that his Brian's son would require the same thing from his son. Quote, in this depiction, Gormlaith unsuccessfully attempted to goad her brother into going to war against her husband Brian Boru. N.J. Al-Saga, a 13th-century Icelandic literary work, referred to her as Gormlaith, and portrayed her as a jealous divorcee bent on revenge on her ex-husband Brian Boru. She was a very beautiful woman, but her best qualities were those over which she had no control, and it was commonly said that her character was evil insofar as she had control over it. Quote, in this narrative, she goads her son Sigtrygg, unlike the Cogad, where she attempted to incite her brother, Mael Mórdha. She prompted Sigtrygg into gathering support from Vikings outside Ireland, most notably Earl Sigurd of Orkney and Brodir of the Isle of Man, by promising her hand in marriage. This is the first work to introduce the idea that Gormlaith was divorced from Brian Boru. Early modern narrative texts, a separate strain of wholly negative conceptions of Gormlaith, appeared in Geoffrey Keating's Foras Visa a Erin, composed in 1634. In this text, Keating makes explicit the link between Gormlaith's goading and Mael Mórdha's declaration of war. Gormlaith's remarks in this early modern account weighed on Mael Mórdha, contributing to his quarrel with Murchad and eventually lead the Leinster king to seek allies in the war against the Dalciais. As to why Keating decided to place the cause of hostilities with Gormlaith is up for some debate. One scholar, Maidpin Nierdale, suggested that he was influenced by Meredith Hamner's Chronicle of Ireland published in 1633, where the cause of Clontarf is attributed not to Gormlaith, but an anonymous merchant's wife. Keating's work would in turn influence a slightly later text of the same period, Cath Cuaran. Only one version of this work contains a reference to Gormlaith, but the depiction is derived from Keating.